we fixed it, but if it happens again, if the lights just go off suddenly, it usually doesn't last very long. We're just going to roll with it, keep plowing through, it'll come back. So, fingers crossed. But anyway, thank you for coming. Enjoy the show.
This play is based on interviews by the members of our theater company soon after the incidents in Rickenoch, California in February of 2021. The interviews were filmed. This play is also based on primary sources such as newspaper articles, documentaries, and security camera footage.
Should I start?
We're already rolling.
Okay, I'm just going to start with a story. Back when I was much younger, way before I was involved with law enforcement, I had this idea that I wanted to be an artist. This was New York. I lived in a fifth floor walk-up, tiny studio. And I'm trying to be a painter, so I would wait tables during the day, and then I would stay up late doing watercolors. And I would stay up till 3, 4, 5 in the morning. And that was how I noticed that I had this neighbor. At 3:30, I'd hear his alarm go off, and he'd say, "Not again." And then at exactly 4:15, I'd hear his door open, and he would descend down the stairs. But I never saw him. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. I wanted to see this guy. So, at exactly 4:15, I hear the guy fumble with his lock, and I crept up to my own front door. The door had this peephole about this big and a little metal plate that you would slide away to look through. So I flicked off my lights, I slid the little metal plate aside, and I pressed my eye up against the peephole. And I screamed. An involuntary scream that comes out like a real scream. It's not like a movie scream. It's very different. And so I scream, and I fall back against the wall. Huge commotion as I hit the ground. Because what had happened was, when I slid the plate aside and looked through, there was an eye. He was looking in at me. Finally, from the other side of the door, I hear the sound of the guy picking up his keys. Now I had to see what this guy looked like. So I picked myself up, I pressed myself against the door, and once again looked through. There's that eye again. It was mine. It was the reflection of my own eye. I realized it just in time to see a freaked out postman heading down the stairs. And that was the most scared I've ever been. And it was just me, scaring me. The only other time I've heard a scream like that, what a real scream sounds like, was that night. 241 people made it all at once. I told this story to Candelaria, and she said to me, "You're missing part of the lesson. There's more than one thing that scared you. Sure, it was mostly about being startled, but what was the first thing you did? You flicked off the lights. People are naturally scared of the dark."
When I was 8, I lived in a house in Domonic, North Carolina, just about a quarter of a mile from Kendall Avenue and main shopping street. It was a tall house, and from my bedroom... Keep going! It was a tall house, and from my bedroom on the 4th floor, I could see this billboard. It was an ad for Diet Coke. In the picture, there were 2 guys and a girl clowning around, but exaggerated. They were posing for each other. I love that billboard. To me, it was a picture of infinity. Models, acting like people, acting like models. It was the first time I encountered recursion, something that bends back on itself and refers to itself, and so becomes a loop. My name is Candelaria Ortiz, and when the incidents at the Oak Box happened, they wanted to understand it from every angle. Criminal, psychological, biological, and philosophical. That's why they brought me in.
I have this picture. We were on our way to church and everybody looked so nice, so I lined us up with a timer and I took one. Me with my arms squeezing all three of them. And before I had a chance to take the next one, I looked at it. It was a miracle shot. It was the Hail Mary of impromptu photos. So I had it printed, 8x10, and I put it in the frame. That frame, the cardboard thing that balances it, broke, so I just set it up on top of the counter and leave it against the wall. That night, all three kids had out to go to play, and I noticed that it slid down, and I picked it up and put it back on top of the counter. So, one moment of grace before they walked out that door, I looked at the picture.
Minichap isn't a town anyone outside Baynor County has ever heard of, but everyone's always surprised at how pretty it is. Once you get off 234, it's all rolling hills and green. Most people's job has something to do with parsing farming. People never seem to think about it, but yes, there are parsing farms, big ones. Not a lot of people come here, but not a lot of people leave either. They like it because it's peaceful and safe.
My wife had pink eye, so I was going to pick up our friend Harlan. When I get there, he says, "You're just in time. The kitchen sink's a disaster." I'm a contractor, not a plumber, but I said okay. After about 5 minutes, I said, "It's either be the clogger of the show. You okay blowing off the play?" He said, "Sure. We can grab a drink afterwards." I said, "Okay, but we're just going to say we went to the show."
So, I'm brand new to this job. I mean, it's my 4th day ever as a detective, and I really want to do a good job. It's just that I can already tell that I'm not, and it's stupid things. Being new in a place gets in your way in ways you don't expect. Why are there 2 conference rooms with the same name? The fax machine. Do you press 9? Do you not press 9? And people are not, just edit this out please. People are not as nice to me as I would be in their situation. And I can't even tell where the paper goes in this fax machine.
It was a printer.
So, I'm thinking to myself, how could things get worse, right? And then the whole incident happens, and things get worse and worse and worse.
Me and Mary Rickenoch were on the bridge below the Oak Box just talking of the world, but suddenly we hear this sound, crazy loud, like foghorn. Mary said it must just be part of the play.
I'm a forensic engineer, so if a bridge collapses or a dam gives way or people get trapped inside a fire, it's my job to figure out what went wrong. Some of the cases are famous. The Hartford Circus Fire of 1944 killed 168 people. The Great White Fire of 2003 killed 100. One of the things that you pay attention to is what happened with the doors. There was a fire. It was a famous fire in Chicago in 1903. The Hillock fire. It was right after Christmas, and so all the kids were out of school, and the whole theater was full of families. All 3 levels, and even standing room on the second. A curtain caught on fire, and what happened was the first people that reached the doors realized half a second too late that the doors opened in. The people behind them were panicked and crowded them, so they couldn't get the door open because they were pressed with the hinges going the wrong way. Now, when you look at a door that has trapped people, you often find scuff marks halfway up that door, because the impulse is to kick. If there's more time, you'll find dents, sometimes big ones, where somebody grabbed a fire extinguisher or a dresser, just something heavy. But the incident at the Oak Box, I had never seen anything like it. You looked at those doors and you just thought, what the hell?
I get home and my wife runs out the door, throws her arms around me, and I have no idea what's going on. It was clear I should say, "Oh, we went to the play and I got a drink afterwards." Then she tells me to look at the news. And I'm expecting Channel 2. She turns on CNN.
I wasn't surprised that they could find me. I was surprised that they even thought to look. My name is Rickenoch Baynor. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Minnesota, and I study theater.
911, what's your emergency?
I'm not sure.
Is it life-threatening?
Yes.
Are you safe right now?
No.
I'm sending someone, more than one. There's cars already on the way. What's your name, Chica?
Angela.
Angela. I'm sending them to the Oak Box. Is that right?
Yes.
And there's a play tonight? The high school is doing a play? Is that where you are?
Yes.
In the theater.
Yes.
And somebody's hurt?
Everybody.
Who's that again? Where are you in the theater?
Just standing on the stage.
Take a very, very deep breath. Hold it.
None of it made any sense. All of a sudden, this tiny town was the site of a tragedy that nobody's ever seen or heard of. 241 people fall unconscious while watching a high school play that the program tells us is called Trap. Now, we only have a few events for the timeline. We know that people are fine at 11 after 8 because that's when the usher texts her older brother to come and pick her up after the show. At night 10, 2 kids sitting on a ridge below the theater hear what they think is a foghorn, but they assume it to be part of the play. At night 22, we get the 911 call. A girl named Angela Lure, who it turns out is the only person still conscious. But when we finally get her out of there, she won't talk. She either doesn't know what happened, or she's simply too scared to say it.
The Oak Box was international news. I heard about it while hiking in the hills near Clovis, New Zealand. People falling unconscious in a theater. That was key. I had conflicting thoughts. I thought, how horrible. This is it. This is our proof.
I had that weird feeling you get when you see something on the news that happened right in your hometown. I remember thinking, the Oak Box? Kid? There's no way that's a coincidence. And everyone was like, that was 1946, but I remember thinking, I don't care if it was 1946. One theater, 2 tragedies, there's gotta be a connection.
Rickenoch Herald, March 19, 1946. Law Measure 2A. Funding to build a new theater palace in Silver Bluff passed with 54% of the vote. According to Mayor Roger Whiteman, we intend to use this money to construct a building that will attract visitors to Rickenoch from all over the country. The search for an architect is set to begin immediately.
From architect Grant Hillock's winning bid for the Rickenoch Theater project. Theaters have soaring spaces, fly spaces, where scenery can be pulled up and out of view. My plan extends this metaphor roof light throughout the building. At the sides, half arches will rise like wings lit from within. My hope is that the building will be known far and wide as the Rickenoch Angel.
Rickenoch Herald, April 1st, 1947. Ground was broken yesterday on the Rickenoch Angel, our city's 700-seat theater. Mayor Roger Whiteman overturned the first ceremonial shovelfuls of dirt and declared that the theater would not only be a boon to our economy, but to our spirits as well.
Letter from Normal Pike to Adelaide Pike, April 3rd, 1947. My dear sister, I miss you. I miss you, and there's no one here in Rickenoch that I can tell this to. I'm so disgusted with myself. I had Jonathan all to myself for 3 hours, and I had said nothing. We had dinner at Chauncey's crib room, but it was somber. And he's been so quiet since Pat moved to San Francisco. Why do men have so few friends? He couldn't think to say anything, and I couldn't think to say anything, except for that question. I just couldn't bring myself to ask it.
Rickenoch Herald, April 4th, 1947. 3 days in, construction halted on the Rickenoch Theater. According to Chief Engineer Foster Wellingham, synastic techniques have shown that the granite bedrock below Silver Bluff is twice as thick as previously believed. Our plans call for dressing rooms below ground, as well as stage machinery, including trapdoors. This delay will be a few weeks at most.
Normal Pike to Adelaide Pike, May 25th, 1947. He said yes! Adelaide, I cannot tell you how happy I am. Last night, we walked up on the bluff, stared at the lights of the ships, and when he was looking away, I got down on one knee and held out grandfather's wedding band. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "What does it look like I'm doing?" He goes, "That's not how it's done." I said, "Darling, we're going to be married for at least 50 years. No one needs to know how it all began." Adelaide, I feel lit from within. Electrified even. But this time, I promise, not in a bad way. Much shop. The Crowleys are coming over, so I have to buy another sofa.
Manichap Herald, May 31st, 1947. Local boy vanishes. 10-year-old Marcus Tumble was reported missing by his parents Tuesday night after a family picnic. He'd been playing hide-and-seek with his cousins, said his father Guillermo, when they went to play on the beach below Separate Bluff, and he didn't come back. Marcus is 5 feet, 2 inches tall, and was wearing a long black sweater and white shorts. He's also missing a front tooth.
Letter from Normal Pike to Adelaide Pike, June 2nd, 1947. Sorry for not being clear about the topic of the cards and so far. I was sure that Jonathan was going to rebuff my proposal, and it left me absolutely frenzied. The morning of the proposal, I was left at the house alone, and so I kicked my shoe on the south living room wall, and I did it again, and again, and again, until I was calm. And the movers came in just in time with the sofa, so I can blame them for the holes in the wall.
Manichap Herald, June 5th, 1947. Yesterday, by a vote of 5 to 4, the Board of Supervisors authorized new blueprints for the Manichap City Theater. According to Supervisor Worthall, we had no choice given our updated understanding of the geology of bluffs. We had to abandon the idea of things.
Normal Pike to Adelaide Pike, June 7th, 1947. My dear sister, every moment of every day is the happiest time of my life. The only shadow is that it's so easy to tip Jonathan into silence. He got so quiet when I made a joke about the skirt he was wearing for the Scottish festival. And the other day I said, darling, please don't misconstrue this, but I'm glad your business failed. Finally, you're all mine.
Los Angeles Times, September 2nd, 1947. For the first time in history, the residents of the placid farming community known as Manichap, California, are locking their doors. The disappearance of 10-year-old Marcus Tumble has unsettled this community an hour and a half north of Santa Barbara, California. Marcus disappeared Tuesday night after a family picnic below an area called Separate Bluff. In the absence of natural plausible reasoning, the residents are looking at each other warily. Marcus's mother, Thea, finds it suspicious that Marcus should go missing on the same day as the Scottish festival. All those men wearing dresses, walking around town that we had never seen before. The police say there's no evidence, but I don't need evidence.
Manichap Herald, September 24th, 1947. Being arrested in Marcus Tumble case. Police on Thursday announced that they've taken into custody a suspect in the case of the missing 10-year-old Marcus Tumble. The man in custody is 33-year-old
Jonathan! September 24th, Adelaide, they put Jonathan in jail. It's unbelievable. They said he has something to do with the boy that went missing. It's ridiculous. They won't even say why they suspect him.
Letter from Gander, Esquire to Samson Bonet, Esquire. The trial proceeds well. On the stand, Mrs. Tumble pointed to a scratch on the float ring that had been in Mr. Mullis' furnished room. She positively identified this to be the float ring that had belonged to her son. But Mrs. Tumble is not our only ally. Watch the jury as they watch Miss Pike. When her fiancé grimaces, she grimaces. When he looks downcast, so does she. She impeaches herself as a character witness. She would be desperate to testify on his behalf. We must not appear too eager.
Excerpt from the Courthouse 5C, cross-examination of Jonathan Willis.
So, the float ring I'm holding here. You claim to have picked it up on the beach. Is that right?
Yes.
Why would you do that?
I don't know. I just did.
Were you afraid you might drown?
Laughter in the courtroom.
Objection! Sustained!
So, on the afternoon of May 3rd, the very afternoon that Marcus Tumble disappeared, you claim to have been taking a long walk, a 4-hour walk on the beach. Is that right?
Yes.
Have you ever taken a 4-hour walk in the middle of your workday?
No.
Have you ever taken such a walk at all?
No.
Did anyone see you?
It was a weekday.
You work at Momsy Limited, shipping and transcription, as a typist. Is that right?
Yes.
How long has this been your employment?
About 3 weeks.
3 weeks. And yet, you felt comfortable taking 4 hours off.
I had to think about the world. My place to be.
So, you took this walk without telling anyone. Mr. Mullis, is that right?
I wrote a note saying I wasn't feeling well.
Who did you give this note to?
I meant to give it to my supervisor, Mr. Clark, but I later found it in my pocket.
Swift justice. Verdict announced. November 14th, Manchap Herald. After deliberating for 5 hours, the Jonathan Wallace jury announced a guilty verdict on account of kidnapping and guilty as well as on account of murder. There was a commotion in the front row when Jonathan's fiancée began to wail so loudly that they had to forcibly remove him from the courtroom. But an extraordinary scene just 2 hours after the verdict was announced. The boy's father and 3 armed men rushed the bailiff as it made its way from the courthouse by sea to the transports. The assailants grabbed Mr. Wallace and pulled him to the ocean, where they held him underwater until he was still. A witness reported that this confirmed Wallace's guilt, as he made not attempt to free himself and allowed himself to be held under until he was still.
November 17th, body of child found. On Wednesday, construction workers at the site of the Civic Theater uncovered the body of a child. Authorities have confirmed that 10-year-old Ensemble was found beneath the trapdoor of the Long Lake Theater. It's a 1 in a million tragedy, says construction supervisor Clifton. The theater was sealed for safety, but one of the lower windows had come unlatched. He must have climbed it. From there, he appears to have peered into the still shallow trapdoor. When that heavy door fell shut, he wouldn't have had a chance. Manchap Herald, February 1st.
Los Angeles Times, February 2nd.
Time Magazine, February 7th.
Our opening night of the Manchap Civic Theater was home to the most extraordinary spectacle ever witnessed by this community.
The long-awaited opening of the Manchap Civic Theater will long be remembered.
3 months after the discovery of a boy beneath the still under construction trap of the theater,
The tragedy known to every member of our town.
the opening of the theater was finally underway.
With the night drenched in a sudden squall, the capacity audience snatched their umbrellas, shook off their coats, eager to put the events of the past few months out of their heads.
The audience watched, wrapped as Medea, passionately played by Broadway actress Gwen Rasmussen, called her children to her breast one final time. But, as Medea willed her vengeance, Norma Pike, fiancée of the unfortunately accused Jonathan Wallace, entered the theater dressed all in green.
Less dressed than a costume,
Dressed like the ocean.
she held aloft the glass.
Holding high like a torch and proclaimed,
Welcome to this theater. Your theater.
the audience would later report that they believed her to be part of the performance.
No one will ever think of this stage show without thinking of the 3 people that died because of it. The boy who was murdered and suffocated. The man murdered because of the boy, and the woman who cursed the building for all time by drowning in it.
Some looked away. The rest wished they had as
She brought the glass to her mouth and tipped it back.
Poured it straight into her throat.
aspirated the entire contents of the glass.
Swallowed it without swallowing.
Her eyes bored into the audience until they went dark and she fell dead to the floor.
In front of 700 people, Miss Pike drowned herself with a glass of seawater.
Page 71 of Haunted California by Naomi Sanders. In the years since the triple tragedy, dozens of people, moonlight sweethearts, schoolboy daredevils, have found themselves looking up at the single mic window in the theater lobby and seen a figure. Sometimes it's a boy, trapped, afraid. Others see the outline of a man, eyes closed, resigned. But on the rare occasion that storm watchers find themselves overtaken, drenched, this thing illuminated by the lightning flash is a woman. She holds a sea green goblet up into the air and smiles an invitation. Drink with me.
After the incident at the Oak Box, one of the things we wanted to know is why Manchap? Why the Oak Box? My theory was that they might have chosen a place with some private in, just like being in the building. Every single person in town knows the story of Norma Pike, that it's a local tragedy. On impulse, really, I googled scary theaters. It's the top result. 4 terrifying theaters. Princess Theater, Melbourne, Australia. Manila Film Centers, Pasay City, Philippines. Theatre Royal, Drury Lane, London. And there it is. First set of 4, the Oak Box, Manchap, California. And it gave me chills because I realized that's how they found the Oak Box.
It was that Sunday morning, 18 hours after the Oak Box incidents, 236 audience members and 5 members of the cast. On the ground, breathing, thank God. But, 2 mysteries. What happened to those people? That was the main question, of course. And second was the doors. How do we make sense of those doors? I'm Avishay. I'm the Chief Forensic Engineer at the California Department of Infrastructure.
Ephrain Salas, firefighter Station 41, Manichac County.
My name is Queta. I'm a neurobiologist at UC Berkeley.
I was the first to appear. I saw the girl on stage. Before we could take her out, she said the one thing we just couldn't figure out. Forwards.
The first thing I noticed about the bodies was the absence of what's called relative resonance. It's the tendency of people who know each other in tragic situations to cluster. After a fire, you'll find the bodies of friends holding each other, or you'll find a parent wrapped around a child. But the bodies at the Oak Box were different. People who weren't related sometimes fell on top of each other, and people who loved each other throughout life sprawled in different directions.
Theater camera.
What about this girl here? Sarah West? She was almost at the door. Did she pay her line?
No, look at the way she fell. She was running.
Yeah, she got here with it too. She didn't pay attention to the play.
Can you tell me what she was listening to?
Yeah, sure. Gimno Betty number 1.
Gimnavity number 1, by Eric Satie.
Okay.
Something else is strange, Hache. Something wrong.
I just didn't know you knew my name.
What do you notice that's strange about the bodies?
Programs. So many people holding them.
That's what I noticed too.
Holding them like they've been trying to read them up until the last second.
It was the speed that threw them. What could overcome this many people this fast? Maybe an electrical impulse, or maybe some type of gas to overcome it. But we scoured the ventilation system and there was nothing.
I was in the theater. I went to help out.
I said to the fireman, any thoughts on what could have overcome these people so fast?
I didn't know it was fast.
Of course it was fast.
That's when they brought me in. Figuring out how long a body has been unconscious is actually not that difficult if you have the right equipment. You see, when a person loses consciousness, their body temperature drops by 2.5 degrees. But this takes a while. So we attached electrodes to their foreheads, microthermometers. And what we found was a surprise to say the least.
It didn't make any sense.
The first one to fall was Paul Schmidt in seat B9. Next was Anna Stroheim in seat 31. The first 26 people to lose consciousness didn't go down at the same time. They went down one by one.
I said, are you sure of this?
Theater camera 1, continuous.
I'm positive. Look at this. It's the seating chart for the other box. B9, C31. What do you notice?
Nothing.
Next was F38.
So, front row, aisle, and then the other side of the aisle.
Then light was switching E7.
Back of row E is at the horizontal aisle in the middle. So, it started at the front, and the back, and the sides.
Exactly. It works that way until the 26th person, Franklin James. Whatever happened to these people, it started at the edges, and it worked its way in, like something cooking.
This doesn't seem like a natural phenomenon. This seems like attackers.
Agreed.
Attackers.
Agreed.
241 people fall unconscious, one by one, like they've been snuck up on. But that doesn't make any sense because they could see the people falling before them. There's no... I don't see how humans could do this.
Maybe what?
I'm not sure.
You guys, shut up for a second. You hear that? There.
I don't hear anything.
There. I lived in Alaska since I was 10, so great hearing. Ears are always good. There, it's like a tree. The bodies are making noises.
Which bodies?
All of them.
Sunday morning, we had 2 visitors. Sunday afternoon, we had 3. What happened to these people? What were the sounds everyone was hearing? And again, the doors. Those people had 45 minutes to leave. And those doors were wide open.
Was stuck with a slush pile. It was bigger than all of the other piles combined, and it was filled with more crazy than I knew was in this world.
I read a book about intelligent monkeys once. My name
Stop
is
putting
Jasper.
those dead
You
people
know
on
you can
TV.
trust me.
I'll help you if you help me.
Stop showing those dead bodies on TV. It disturbs me.
So then
All right,
why-
Call from Seattle, Washington to the Oak Box Hotline, October 9th, 7:32 p.m.
Oak Box Hotline.
Hello, my name is Marion Jane. I'm a professor at the University of Washington. What I'm about to say will sound crazy.
Uh-huh.
Is this a secure line?
Yes, why?
I'm going to tell you something, but you have to promise to not hang up on me.
I can't promise that.
You have a theater full of people who have fallen unconscious.
Yes.
And by now you've probably realized that they were all attacked one by one.
How do you know that?
I think you're dealing with something called paranoids.
Paranoids. What are paranoids?
Start with what they're not, which is human.
Now I'm gonna hang up.
Wait, are all of your victims still alive?
Yes.
They won't be if you hang up. You have less than a week until their hearts stop.
Paranoids.
They look human, but they aren't.
Why haven't I ever heard of these things?
What was that? Hello? Who's there? Sorry, I thought I heard something. You haven't heard of these things because they don't want you to, and attacks are rare. They're like locusts, they attack every 16 years. The last attack was in Gaul, Scotland in 2006. 16 years before that, there was an attack in Iceland. And then 16, and then 16. This is a swarming behavior. These creatures attack, mate, and then they all die, all but one. A caretaker who watches over the larvae as they grow. Which means all paranoids are 16, except one.
Okay, thank you. I've made notes of your call, and I'll get back to you if necessary.
Wait, were there an unusually high amount of new students at Menachap High School this year?
Yes.
And at least one teacher.
Theater teacher.
What happened to the old one?
She died.
Suddenly and with no apparent cause?
Yeah. Why hasn't anyone else heard of these things?
Oh,
What?
nothing. My house must have blown a fuse. I can't see a thing. There are 4 of us hunting these things, but at the same time, they're hunting us. They have an advantage, of course.
Which is?
They know for sure we exist.
Who are the other 3 people hunting them?
There's a zoologist named Muguruza, an evolutionary biologist named Melissa Tange, and a professor at the University of Toronto, Rickenoch Baynor. He studies fear. Hello? Hello?
And then I heard a click.
Call ends at 7:37 p.m.
I tried to call back, but it wouldn't go through. I sat in the call room and thought that I had a choice to make. I could march into Sergeant Rock's office and say, "Look, I know it sounds crazy, but I think I might be onto something." Or I could move on to the next call. As ridiculous as it was, I believed it. But I was new to the job and I was already screwing up, so I moved on to the next one.
At first, we didn't know what we were studying. Hunting. As it turns out, the key has been discovered by a Bolivian named Muguruza and her postdoc, Albedo Penty. They won the 2019 Nobel Peace Prize in Biology for the work.
Estábamos estudiando algo que la gente había notado durante siglos.
We were studying something people had noticed for centuries.
Se llama el enigma de la pintura negra.
It's called the black widow conundrum. When an insect gets caught in a black widow's web, the spider doesn't attack right away. Instead, it falls apart together, almost visualized pattern of movement. The struggling moth knows there's something approaches slowly. The widow moves her something huge, large, flat. Officer Corvette were reeling a blood-red hourglass. Adrenaline flows from the mouth and into the head. Strands are drenched in the insect stare, and the widow bathes in it.
It's a brilliant evolutionary strategy because it's a way to get nourishment from a different part of the animal. Every other predator on the planet feeds from the meat of its prey. These creatures subsist on the powerful chemicals secreted by animals who are terrified. They feed on fear.
A creature that feeds on fear has a different hunting strategy than ones that feed on flesh. It cares what sustains you that you need to create it. So Rickenoch will hunt their prey and trap it.
The black widow, Venus flytrap, two of the most famous paradox, an insect, plant. But there was an evolutionary drama.
The idea that a species of Rickenoch can mimic a human was so hard to wrap our head around that we had to take a step back and ask how. Why? Why would it be more beneficial to hunt humans when there are thousands of other predators, thousands of other creatures that you can capture?
Evolution follows the prey. The juicier the prey, the more clever the trap. Rickenoch's chosen prey, their only prey, are the creatures on Earth most susceptible to fear.
Human brains evolved in such a way that made them incredibly good at seeing terror on the horizon. Is that a snake in the grass, or is that a twig? Is that a lion roaring, or is that just thunder? All that worry has kept us alive for hundreds of years, but as we emerged from the jungle, it didn't go. It just repurposed itself. So now, instead of worrying about being eaten by a tiger, we're worrying about tomorrow's madness.
All the anxiety it produces useless to us, but from a Rickenoch's point of view, makes us the equivalent of a large, slow-moving snake.
The obituary for Marion J., Professor of Neuroscience at the University of Washington. Professor J was well-liked and well-respected. His unexpected passing has thrown a cloud over the campus. Professor J is survived by his parents, Selma, and his grandmother, Thelma Lamb.
Interview with Kenosha Silberling-Johnson, Kenosha High School, Site 4.
And do you know why we're having this conversation? Because of this. Can you be more specific? Well, we're here because of what you told people happened. It happened. You talked to a lot of people yesterday, and you told them all the same story. Yes. Now, is this story something that you're sure of? Or is it possible you might have made something up? It was all true. So that's why you're here for Kenosha. Because that story about what happened in the woods, that story couldn't possibly have happened.
Kenosha came out of the womb perfect. But at 3 weeks old, she had a seizure, and, well, we were worried we were going to lose her. As her mom, I could tell some things had changed. I remember Kenosha's first day at Manachat because she got up the audition board, only the string with the pencil attached was broken, so there's no way to put your name on it. And so I turned to her and I said, "Got a pin if you want to audition." She said,
My name is Kenosha R. Silberling-Johnson.
So the joke very quickly went around that the R
The R was to distinguish herself from all the other Kenosha Silberling-Johnsons. The kids at our old school could be so mean, and, well, Manachat was supposed to be a fresh start.
Thinking back, that was a bad start, because you always had it in the back of your head. You always had, like, some sort of distance.
Kenosha had all the normal emotions like grief, nervousness, happiness, but they weren't wired right. Like, she grimaced to say, "I love you." She spent her whole time studying people's expressions and got quite good at showing the right emotion, but she was acting. You could tell she was doing it phonetically. But there was one thing that Kenosha could never manage to do, and that was to lie. There was too much going on. What do your hands do? Do your eyes look up or down? She couldn't calibrate the information.
She told me she couldn't go to homecoming with me because her uncle was an astronaut. I wasn't actually going to ask her, but still didn't feel bad.
I give her these situations. I say, "Just tell me you're late for curfew and I'm angry, I've been trying to reach out and frantic, go." And she was awful. I say, "Just tell me that your phone ran out of battery." And she go blank. I said, "Kenosha, you have to master this lying thing or you're going to have the worst teenage years of anybody in existence."
mentioned that it really was an accident. You know these tables are long, these long benches? Well, Kenosha was just sitting there all alone, so I went up on the other side and I asked, hey, is anyone sitting here? She said no. So I grabbed her bench so we can fit more people on our table. Of course, long-term worked in her favor, because after a while, Clifton wanted to go to her.
Clifton? Where to start? Clifton's kind of perfect.
I think he's really nice.
Kind, so sweet.
We don't have like homecoming queens or kings or any sort of farm royalty, but if we did, he'd be both kings.
He just walked right over to her.
There was one thing, actually. When I first saw her, her phone began to ring, and before she even looked at who it was, she made herself smile.
You look over and you can see them in the cafeteria together, and she is making you laugh.
A lot of times, she was hilarious on purpose, but not always. One time, I was laughing so hard.
His head literally hits the table.
One time, she said to me, I like you more than water.
You'd see them everywhere together. He'd laugh and put his arm around her neck. I couldn't tell if it was romantic or not.
So it's fairly weak in school, and this new girl got to the addition board, only the string clip and pencil attachment was broken.
I wanted to be in the play, so I did some research and found the best book for acting, which is Uta Hagen's Respect for Acting. And it's really good, and you should read it if you're interested in acting at all.
We had talked about the idea of Kenosha being involved in theater because, well, I thought she'd be quite good. She was always studying people's expressions, so I said, well, sweetheart, go for it.
Kenosha, this story that you told to so many people, it makes those people anxious. It scared them. Did they cancel the play? No, it didn't scare them enough. Why do you want the play to be canceled? Something bad is going to happen. What's going to happen? Can you tell me that?
It was a little early for the fall when it happened, but we just went with it. We didn't know if it had anything to do with the Miss Gwendolyn driving or not.
Miss Pendle was my favorite teacher. Such a shame. 2 days before the start of school, just bam, dropped out of a heart attack. She was 38, didn't smoke, exercise. You know how these things just sort of happen.
She came home the day of the audition and she burst through the door and I said, sweetheart, how'd it go? And she goes, I nailed it.
I saw her audition. She was really good, but I told her you never know.
The next day she calls me from school and she's talking really fast. And I said, sweetheart, what's wrong? And she goes, I didn't get the part. And I said, well, sweetheart, that's okay. Sometimes we don't always get what we want. And she goes, but I was the best one. Even then, there could have been all sorts of reasons why you didn't get the part. And she goes, no, something's up.
The casting was pretty strange. So we're all looking at this list, like, why don't I know any of these names?
Practically every name on the list was new. Almost every kid who got a part was new that year.
When Kenosha would get overwhelmed, she would lose her skill at imitating. So over the phone, I started to hear a and then she hung up, and, well, I was worried something might happen.
We were at the first casting meeting, and I was there to see if I could volunteer for tech. And then Kenosha comes marching in and started making an announcement, and then she did. She started making beeping noises.
That was a panic attack.
She fell down hard, one knee. She couldn't breathe. She actually crawled out of the room.
A person who tells a story over and over then, it gets a performance aspect. They subconsciously know what things are in a reaction. And the more they tell the story, the more they lean into those aspects of it. The story doesn't get too much memorized, it's etched.
Kenosha comes in and she says, I'm going to tell you a story. Please, just listen.
She said, please, just listen.
Please, just listen. Yesterday, as I was leaving school, I hit my left knee.
My left knee.
Right here, so I couldn't go very fast.
I was allowed to walk home as long as I faced the traffic. And when I was walking, I looked behind and I saw 3 people way back, and I knew I had to get away from them.
There's that big stretch of forest in between the highway and the Walmart, and just before I was about to jump in, I looked back and they were very closer. The forest is deep, but I cut through it all the time.
The forest is deep, but I cut through it all the time.
So I knew I'd have an advantage. When I looked back,
I got so scared.
When I looked back, I got so scared because they had turned in after me. They wanted me in the forest, and they were fast.
All of a sudden, I hear this sound crazy loud.
The loudest thing I've ever heard.
ever heard.
Ever. I can't tell where it's coming from. I'm shaking.
I ran faster than I could see.
And when I looked back, this was the thing that scared me more than anything ever.
One by Their eyes lit up. Which I know
This
sounds
sounds
crazy.
I could hear music ahead of me. I remember that there was a mini carnival in the Walmart parking lot. There was a tilt-a-whirl and bumper cars, and you could hear the 7-year-old screaming as they hit the tip of the kiddie coaster.
All I needed to do was to get to them, but when I looked back, there were 3 pairs of little eyes.
There were 2.
Where's the other one?
If I'd have to choose, do I try to hide in the forest or do I try to make it to the parking lot? But the thing that scares me the most is that I almost make it. Is that the third one's just waiting for me and grabs me in his arms.
And I can't do it. I can't go forward. People don't naturally look up because we have no predators from there. So I started climbing a tree.
I started climbing a live oak.
A live oak, and halfway up I freeze. The 2 of them get to me, and then the third one. They don't see me even though their eyes light the ground.
They start to argue.
They start to argue about whose fault it was. The 2 of them grab the third, and then the third one screams, "Please, no!"
Then they tilt his head to the side, and they whisper something, but I hear it completely clear.
And after that, the third one starts crying.
And then he falls over dead, right onto the roots of the tree. And what he whispers is,
Can I tell you a secret?
Kenosha, can you concentrate just a little longer here? You said their eyes are. Could those have been flashlights? No, I know the difference. Have you ever heard of anyone whose eyes are? No. So is it possible you imagined it? If what you said happened, there should have been 4 sets of footprints, right? But they only found yours. They must have erased them. The police followed the tracks of the tree, just like you said. But there was no body there. They moved it. And what about this sound? The sound that you say came from everywhere all at once. It was a foghorn? There are no foghorns within 200 miles of here. It was a foghorn.
Foghorns are an example of phenomena called doo-tones. Sounds like mean different things in different contexts. In the distance, a foghorn is comforting. It tells you you're safe. But if you hear it loud, it's terrifying. You're too close. It's too late.
After this forest incident, Kenosha wouldn't go to the south wing, where the theater is, at all. She wouldn't even go to the chem lab, and I told her, Kenosha, you're putting your whole chem grade in jeopardy. But she wouldn't go near that theater at all.
She started to talk bad about the play. She said it was like a malady. I had no idea about it.
She said the play was going to be like a sick dog, but only scarier.
She said it would leave a greenish taste in my mouth.
It's amazing she had time to go to class. She talked with over a quarter of the school.
She came up to me and she said, "Let's skip the play that night. Let's play charades instead."
We should have a movie night.
She said, please, please, please don't go to the play. And I told her, Kenosha, I'm in the play.
Kenosha was so scared to go to the play, but of course she ended up going. She thought she could save those people. My brain has an anchor. Right here. It weighs on my thoughts and I can't see through it.
Please, I like you more than water.
Kenosha told everyone that the play was going to end in horror. I knew she couldn't lie, but I still didn't believe her.
Email from Marion J. to Gwendolyn H. 3 days before Marion J. was found dead in his study.
Paradox are perfect replicas of people. These things have been there. They mimic our relatives, and the only person who was ever able to detect it was someone who was mimicking emotions himself. The girl who disappeared.
Email from Marion J. to Gwendolyn H. October 5th. 2 days after Marion J.'s death.
Miss Hache, please respond. When Paradox attack, it's 99.9% fatal, like rabies. Once you're attacked, you have up to 2 weeks until your heart stops. But it will stop. In the whole history of this happening, there's only ever been one survivor.
I was still working with the slusher pile. There was only one girl who knew what happened in that theater. If I wanted to talk to her, I was going to need an angle. I marched into Sergeant Brock's office without knocking and said, "Let me
said the girl's useless.
She said 4 words, which doesn't make sense.
She wanted out of there.
What if what she said was 4 words? She was trying to tell him something that had happened in the theater. He talked to the girl. I can get those 4 words.
It was hot and heavy, like a greenhouse. 241 bodies with diabetes comes over. That was the first thing you noticed. The room was dark, and IV bags were up to about here. They loaded. It was actually kind of beautiful.
He came to me and he said, I want to take some time off.
And he said, I'm sorry, I need all hands on deck.
Ephrain said, and he choked up. He said, I know these people. I love these people.
I wanted to help out and see if I could figure out what those noises were that the bodies were making. And he said, nobody can hear those noises except you.
And he said, that's why they need me.
Minichap Psychiatric Facility, Stabilization Room 4, October 21st, 9:30 a.m.
Angela? May I come in? I'll stay over here. My name is Gwendolyn, and I'm one of the people trying to figure out what happened in that theater. Is that security camera bothering you? It shouldn't. There's no one watching you. It's just there in case if something were to go wrong, which it won't, then they could go back and see what happened. I feel like I know you. Everybody I've talked to, everybody, their whole voice bubbles up when I mention your name. They tell me about your soccer and your sense of humor and that CPR class you organized. Right now, a lot of people need your help. Whatever happened in the Oak Box is still going on. And I have this theory about what you said to that fireman. He heard 4 words, but what I think you said was 4 words. Can you tell me which of those it was? I have something I want to ask you. Stay away from me! Oh, I'm sorry! Stay away! Help! Help me!
Theater Carol 1, October 25th, 2:45 p.m.
Hey, I'll be back to check. Hey, smell. This is Dr. Salas. I think your trigonometry class 14 years ago. I'm here to make sure you're safe. That's, I know you can hear me, and I think you're making sense. Everyone else in this theater. If you can make any noise here, right here, right from me. The year I was in your math class was the year those midterms got stolen. Make a noise if you remember that. For me, it's a good memory because I was one of 6 students that were grade 3. But rather than suspecting Debbie's misdeeds, I was new to school and nervous. I had never quite trusted. It shaped me to who I am today as part of White Flag Flyers. That's why I wanted to tell you. I did steal those tests.
Hey! Hey! Why? Did nobody hear that? You made it sound.
Please, just one more time!
Look, you've got to keep your voice down.
They can hear us!
Minichap Psychiatric Facility, Stabilization Room 4.
Thank you for seeing me again. Answer every question you possibly like. I kick you out. What's book you read in high school English? Hamlet. Tell me like 15 seconds. Born and raised in Indiana. I wanted to be an artist, so I moved to New York City. It didn't work out, but I met my husband. Moved here so I could pursue law enforcement. My daughter's in 3rd grade.
6 times 8.
48.
What are you most afraid of?
Millipedes.
What's the secret?
What secret?
Tell me a secret or I kick you out!
I don't know what you're talking about.
It was 4 words.
4 words. 4 words someone in the theater said that night. Yes?
Yes.
What were they? You don't even have to say them. You can write them down or whisper them as soft as you want.
I'm too scared.
There's nothing here that's going to hurt you. Who said the words? Male or female?
Female.
Adult or student?
An adult.
What were the words?
I'll tell you next time.
Tell me the first one. Give me just the first word.
The.
The. The first word is the. Thank you.
Theater camera 3.
There are scientists in Guangzhou, China, that have this therapy that's been helping a couple of people. It's a machine that makes sound waves. and it's so big, they had to put on a cargo plane. It's on its way over the Pacific right now. And then there's this group in Cape Town. They have this cloud that goes in your eye and seems to stimulate brain function. All over it. All sorts of different ways. People, brain.
Ephrain,
Come down.
I've got bad news. The EEG results came back and none of these bodies show brain function.
None that they can measure.
It would register.
You don't know that. You're not a scientist. Whatever's happening to them is hiding the brain waves.
That's not possible.
This is impossible.
They're breathing, but they're as good as dead.
Then why do I hear those noises?
No one hears those noises but you.
Because I have great hearing.
Or because you want to hear them.
I hear them!
Never shout at me.
I'm sorry.
It's not good for you to be here so much.
It gives me strength.
When was the last time you even slept?
I don't need sleep. They're sleeping for me.
That doesn't even make sense. I just don't want to lose you too.
But I'm not going. I won't leave you.
Manchap psychiatric facility. Stabilization.
Angela, it's me again. I asked the Ortiz to roll us in from the record room. I hear you're good, and I brought sheet music if you like playing. I'd love to hear you play, but in order to do that, I'm gonna have to get close to you. That's okay with you. I'm just gonna reach my hand here, and there. Are you all right? Are you too achy to play something? How about this? Just a minute, number one. It's famous for being calming, soothing. Parents and here visit to calm their children. Beautiful.
Plays. The plays. What's the third word? Let music come down. Not. Good. Not. What's the fourth word? Over. Play's not over. Thank you. Why does that scare you? Angela?
14, 4 p.m.
I figured out. I know what's going on. I'm here to escort you. No. Yes, Ephrain. I figured out. We're worried about you.
Have you ever had that dream? Something scary is chasing you, and you can't make a noise. But you can make these sounds on the outside of the dream that other people can hear. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to string their way out.
Ephrain, you know I like you. I think you respect me.
Yeah.
You are not in your right mind.
I'm fine.
I disagree, and I'm ordering you to come with me.
They need me here.
There's no they there anymore.
I can hear them.
The debate now is whether to take them off of life support.
No!
The doctors made this decision.
The doctors are wrong.
I need you to come with me.
Or what?
Or you're fired.
I don't care about that.
No department in the country will hire you.
I'll change careers.
I'm 2 seconds from dragging you out myself.
You ain't big enough.
You don't think so? Plus, I brought deputies.
I'll still do that.
Get out of this theater right now!
No.
Guys?
Wait, there's still people in those bodies. Please, if you can hear me, I need you to know something. You are loved. This town loves you. God loves you. I love you. I will not let anything happen to you. But I need you to do something. If you can reach out just 1%, I'll reach out the other 99.
Let's go, Ephrain.
Wait, did you hear that?
I heard it. I hear it too. I heard it too. They're in there. We'll find a way to get them out.
We've been over this. Something protected you. I don't know what. What was different about that day? Nothing. You sure? Yes. And the play. You can't remember anything other than those 4 words. The play's not over. I would tell you, but it's all blank. Angela, people in the theater are running out of time. I need a favor. What? You get out of here tomorrow. I want you to come with me to the theater. No, I'll be right with you. I can't. My guess is that when you walk in there, you're going to remember everything that happened. Let's go over the performance day one more time. It was a typical Friday. Math, biology, English, social studies, PE, and speech club. Which you said is after school to why? Yeah. Are you a good speaker? No, that's why I'm in speech club. My head gets all light, and my chest gets super tight, and... Oh. What? It was my day to speak. My dad's an internist. He gave me this pill, Inderol. It blocks the nerve from getting from my body. You took a pill that blocks adrenaline? No, I took it.
Fear is irrational. Scary movies make us wince, even though we know there is absolutely nothing that can jump out of that screen and hurt us. If anything, this theater should be scary.
I'll send email from Marion J. The afternoon of the day.
The attack is so simple. Rickenoch whispers, "Can I tell you a secret?" This makes the victim think of all the scary things the secret could be. As they whisper, a tiny extension
It's us, Detective Hache, and you remember Angela. You carried her out of here.
Yeah. You were right.
No,
This place takes me used to.
I don't want everything. You can help them. If you can remember what happened, that can make the difference. Still alive.
We're giving them water and drinks. So that's,
You leave us alone for just a bit.
yeah. There are others in the back.
Do you remember where you were sitting? Right where I am now. I want you to think about the days leading up to the play. There were posters all over school.
Yeah, they said, don't tell the secret. We can change the way plays.
Good. And then the last day, it changed again. They added the title of the play. Remember it? No. Don't know the title of the play?
No.
It might help to get up on stage.
No.
Just come up here with me. You made a phone call from her. You remember that?
No.
What's the last thing you remember about that night?
I was running into the parking lot. I was late because of the speech club, but there was an electrical problem I didn't have to worry about.
Angela, just come up here with me. I won't let anything happen to you. This is where they found you. Take a deep breath. Now, lower your head and close your eyes. On the count of 3, I want you to raise your head and open your eyes. 1, 2, 3. 911, what's your emergency?
I'm not sure.
Is it life-threatening?
Yes.
Are you safe right now?
No.
I'm sending someone. More than one. There's cars already on the way. What's your name, Chica?
Angela.
Angela? Angela, I'm sending them to the Oak Box. Is that right?
Yes.
And there's a play tonight. The high school's doing a play. Is that
Yeah.
where you are?
Yeah.
In the theater.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody's hurt?
Everybody.
Who's that again? Where are you in the theater?
Just standing on the stage.
Take a very, very deep breath. Hold it. Angela, what are you thinking about?
The end. Calling for help knowing it was too late.
I want you to look at something. This is a program from that night. That's the title of the play.
Track.
It's wrong.
It was right in front of us.
What was?
It should have been obvious. The play was a trap. It was even called track. It's in sections. 1, a picture of infinity. 2, the oak box. And 3, what held them. What held us? Something had happened in a theater at school play and everyone in the audience all over unconscious.
But what happened in the play? What was the story about?
That's what it was about.
In the play you were watching, people had fallen over unconscious in the theater.
Yeah, it was mostly interviews, like a documentary. Everyone had fallen over except one girl.
And in the play, what had happened?
There were these creatures, things that look human but they're not, called paranorms. They attacked the audience one by one, then all at once.
What happened in real life to the people you were with?
The same thing!
No, what made the audience you were with fall unconscious?
Those creatures, they looked human but they're like black widows. They feed on fear.
Those are things in a play. They're not real.
Yes, they are!
I promise they're not.
They confuse people. The play was about all the things that were about to happen to us, so when it started, we couldn't tell what was real but wasn't.
Creatures who feed on fear and put on plays. It's ridiculous.
Sounding like they're ridiculous is how they hide.
Even if they were real, they're not here now. Take a very, very deep breath. me more about these creatures.
In the final section of the play, which is also called Trap, the paradox are
Attack the audience? How did they do that?
one of the girls in the story. She walked down to the audience. She was narrating what she was doing. She stopped in front of a boy. She asked a question. So I was secret. The boy nodded and she whispered something. The boy fell over on top of the seat. But the audience didn't think anything of it because there was someone listening to the program that's called the boy. So then she moved over a couple seats. Same thing. She asked a question. Where's the secret?
There's something we didn't understand at first. If the paradox attack depends on society, why are these people falling over? If they knew it was fake, then why were they scared of it? What they were scared of wasn't dead. It was that they would be called on and they didn't know what to do. It's stage fright, which as it turns out is just as fatal as the fear of death.
By the time she got to me, I was terrified. But when she whispered, nothing happened.
Taking the interval.
Yeah,
How many people have fallen over by then?
a lot.
Why wouldn't somebody have just left?
Because they thought it was part of the play. Someone's cell phone had gone off. But if you look in the program, there's someone listed as cell phone guy.
Stop! Stop the play!
Who is that?
My name is Kenosha Silberling-Johnson. Everybody, listen up. In a calm and orderly manner, leave the theater. You have to leave the theater for your own safety. There's a small child trapped in a car in the parking lot, so you'll have to check to make sure it's not your car.
Worst liar, and he and his eye are broke.
Please, leave!
They think you're a part of the play.
You're the one playing me.
Yeah?
You're not human.
Then what am I?
A paradox. You're human, and you are. Stay away from them! Now will you leave?
They think you're a part of the play because you are a part of the play?
No, I'm not.
Then why are you in the program?
I'm not.
Yes, you are. It says right here, the real Kenosha.
This is a trick.
There's a part of the play where you get chased in the woods.
You made up a whole part of the place just in case I came back during the attack.
It's a part of the script.
There is no script.
Right here.
This is a trap. This is a high school play. The perfect trap. Everybody has to come and nobody's allowed to leave. They feed on anxiety. You've only lost a few so far, but that'll change fast. The lights will go out, you'll hear a crazy loud noise, and their eyes will light up as they start to feed.
There's nothing you can do that'll get them out of their chairs.
I don't have to get them out of the chairs. I just have to get rid of you.
Good luck.
I've been hiding in the theater the whole time, preparing a surprise.
What's the surprise?
If I told you, it wouldn't be a surprise. Everybody, they're feeding under stress. So smile. Relax yourself from the outside in. Now take a huge breath. Do it! And relax. I promise you will not be called on as part of this performance. What's wrong with you?
Nothing.
Then why are you wilting?
Or acting. Stop. I want to tell you a secret.
No.
If you let me tell you a secret, I'll win with the audience.
How?
I can do it.
I don't believe you.
Your only chance to save them is to believe. Can I tell you a secret?
Go ahead. Can I tell you a secret? I took 4 Enderall. Surprise!
That was the sound I heard that night. The sound of all those people being free. The best screams you can imagine.
It was just 25 days after the events in the Oak Box began, and they came to an end.
My name is Angela Lord, and I live in the Menachat Paranormal Tower.
My name is Clifton Barnes, and I survived being in the play.
Maura Aoki. I'm alive because of Kenosha Silberling-Johnson.
I was just saving my life.
My whole family was in the theater that night.
Thank you, Kenosha.
Thank you.
We love you, Kenosha.
changed it. My name's Rickenoch, and I publish 3 papers.
I got a medal.
I got a promotion.
I got a parade.
And I got Kenosha.
For a few weeks later, the town of Manchester, California became famous. But that fame went away quick. People didn't believe what happened. Psychologists wrote it off as an example of mass hysteria. People being scared of a place that already scared them.
I lived through the events, and even I'm not sure. Did it really happen, or was it like that I, the people, the most scared I've ever been? And it was just me, scaring me. Stefan, I have some bad news.
Main thing about traffic. He's confused, right?
Well, I put a flag in the fall Sunday.
What's real? What's not? Everybody, we're running a few minutes late. What's wrong with the lights? Gregg's most vulnerable when it thinks it's escaped.
Spider's not home.
It was just me, scaring me.
Recursion, a high school play about a high school play. Audience being attacked, watching a play about an audience being attacked.
If you say to an audience, you're going to die, then they're going to stay in their seats because they don't miss it.